Hey everyone, and welcome into the Repair Crew podcast. You have Kevin, your host here again, who's going to be playing moderator for our very special topic today. And I am joined by Jesse Madaw from 360 Payments, as he and I have recorded many sessions together. But the reason why I say this one's special is today because I think that it deals with a very interesting topic that has reared its head in aftermarket quite a bit over the past several months, and that is surcharging. So if you're looking for really good expertise on the current state of surcharging, especially in aftermarket, this is a really good place to start. And Jesse, I'm going to welcome you in here and maybe start with our first question around maybe just give us a quick flyover for those that maybe haven't read super deep on surcharging, but it obviously affects their business. Maybe give us the flyover on surcharging in general, and then take us one step deeper into what have you specifically been seeing in surcharging as it relates to aftermarket, and in this case, specifically independent auto repair shops.
Yeah, Kevin, I appreciate you having me on and chatting about this. It's definitely a hot topic that's coming up a lot nowadays. So to give you a little flyover history on it, years ago, back 5, 6, 7 years ago, surcharging was actually against Visa MasterCard regulations. So you could not push the fee of the credit card processing onto the customer. So you see at convenience stores and stuff like that, they would always charge, on debit cards, they'd have an extra, 30 cents fee on debit cards and stuff like that. Well, that was really not supposed to happen a lot of times. With a lot of different regulations and legislation going through, about 4 or 5 years ago, it became available that it was okay through Visa MasterCard to add that surcharge fee or push the fee onto the customer. So over the last 3 or 4 years, it has really reared its head. It's become a big topic in all industries. So you see a lot, obviously, with restaurants, coffee shops, a lot of the frequent slow ticket places that people go to a lot. That is all credit cards. Restaurants nowadays are 90% credit cards. So they're adding in, different things to cover their costs. You've even seen fees in for, the staff, where they have the tip line, but they also have a staff fee or employee fee in there and stuff like that. So the surcharging piece of it has become a big topic in aftermarket recently, because a lot of people are getting that option. It's really a big ticket item or a line item for these shop owners is the credit card fees. Nowadays, in a repair shop, everything is paid by credit cards. No one's walking around with a checkbook anymore. It's very rare. They're paying $2,000 or $3,000 invoice with cash. So credit card is the way to go. And those fees, when you have some of these larger shops doing, $100,000 a month in credit card volume, those fees add up quick. So it's a very attractive thing for these shop owners to save a couple grand a month on these fees. The biggest thing is really how to do it correctly. And if you are going to do it, you got to know the right way to do it. So that's kind of what I want to chat about with you guys today.
Yeah, that's great background, and maybe a place that we can start, because I've seen so many articles around surcharging, but just like we kind of covered, it affects all credit cards. It's not it's industry agnostic, right? So it happens everywhere that you use a credit card. But there are certain things that we have to keep in mind, especially if we're kind of putting our business hat owner on. So maybe we can start with dispelling, a few of the myths that are out there about surcharging, or maybe some of the beliefs that people have just in reading an article or running their business that they might assume, but maybe those assumptions aren't correct. So a couple of them that I've heard specifically that you can sort of help debunk is, the credit card versus debit card, and, kind of the whole process of payments, especially card present type payment. What's the difference there? Is it credit card only? Let's make sure that we're very clear with business owners that are potentially looking to implement surcharging.
Yeah, and that's the perfect place to go. Is how do you do surcharging compliant with Visa MasterCard regulations? There's a lot of ways that processors are still out there just suggesting different things, but everything you read on the internet's not always true. So the easiest way that I've seen out there that people are just saying, okay, I want to make up for my fees for credit card processing. I'm just going to add a line item to the invoice that says convenience fee, throw 3.5% on there and call it a day. And that used to work, but again, it's, the regulations have changed. When they first started the surcharging, it was up to 4% that you could push back onto the customer. Now they've, as of April of last year, they reduced that down to 3%. But there's still a lot of businesses out there that have 3.5% as their surcharge, and they just have had it there for so long and they haven't changed it. And so technically that's out of compliance with Visa and MasterCard. The other big piece is you're not allowed to surcharge on debit cards or prepaid cards, like gift cards or anything like that. So just having that line item on your invoice, you're going to have no idea if a customer puts a debit card into that terminal. And that's not just PIN debit, that's using a debit card, whether it's credit or debit. So if the customer is putting in their own credit card, you have no idea what card is in their hand. If they run a debit card and you add that surcharge on there, again, you're out of compliance with Visa and MasterCard. One of the biggest things that they started doing last year, because there are so many businesses that are it's the Wild West. They're out there charging whatever they want to their customers. Visa hired like 100,000 secret shoppers, and they are out there shopping with debit cards. And if you surcharge them on that transaction, they can fine you. They can report it to Visa and MasterCard, and Visa and MasterCard, I think the minimum fine is like $5,000. So right off the bat, you're putting your business at risk if you're not doing it the correct way.
So perfect. And kind of what I'm hearing from you is there's definitely some expertise and some knowledge needing to be kept up on, because it seems like some of those regulations can sort of change sometimes without warning or sometimes in the lead up to. So it's really important to make sure that businesses are aware of their specific implications, and obviously work with a payments partner that kind of knows this business, right? Especially as aftermarket, there's specific things. And to your point earlier, you can't simply just assume that you can do, kind of a flat service level or service fee type charge, just to change it with your machine or with your processor and expect that to actually be within compliance. Like, that's a pretty big fine that people can potentially incur for not doing things the right way. So shifting a little bit more then into the software side of things, I think it'd be important for us, if we've sort of set the scene in terms of, what is surcharging? Why is it important? Why is it important to be compliant and follow the rules? Talk about it, obviously from the 360 side of things. What were the things that you all had to consider in your development for allowing surcharging? So if the business wants to go down that route and really incorporate it, what are some of the things that 360 specifically has opened up into their system, especially working with the shop management systems, right? Because if you're using a point of sale system, it's not only important for your processor to have that ability, but you have to make sure that it's integrated with your shop management system. So maybe a little bit of info on that to help set the scene for what this kind of launching point looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things that, in the automotive market, why 360 has been, a big player there, is because we've integrated with a lot of the different shop management systems out there, and we're continuing to build products specifically for the shop owner to make it easier to get paid. So when the surcharging thing came up, we kind of rebuilt an entire gateway specifically for that. But the biggest thing that we did is made sure that it was compliant with all of Visa or MasterCard regulations. So the first thing is, I touched on debit cards. So with our integration, the terminals will automatically read the BIN number, which is just the first 6 digits of the card, and know if that's a debit card or a credit card. If it is a debit card and it gets inserted, it automatically sees that and it removes the surcharge. So from a shop standpoint, you guys just run your business the way you normally do, no matter what transaction or what card they're using for the transaction. If it is a debit card that they use, it just automatically removes the surcharge and charges the full amount. So, so it makes it easy that way. The other piece of the regulation is you need signage. You need to disclose the surcharging to your customer. So there needs to be a sign on the entrance of the shop. There needs to be signage at the desk or every checkout station you have available, showing or explaining that you do have a surcharge on credit cards and what that amount is. And then you do have to disclose that on the invoice, what that surcharge amount is. So we've worked with a lot of our partners to have that all integrated so that it's still the same process. You click a button in the shop management system, it lights up the credit card terminal that's customer facing. They put in their own card, they digitally sign on the screen. Like I said, if it's a debit card, it knows that not to surcharge on that transaction, but it's fully disclosed signage within the business. On the invoice that the customer leaves with, the surcharge is on there, so that it's meeting all the standards that Visa MasterCard does. So if a secret shopper or anybody comes into your shop, you got it all covered.
Yeah, that seems like an important piece, to me, just again, thinking as being a management person within a shop or even a business owner, the ability to have that automation and decisioning taken out of my hands to put into the compliance piece, right? Like that's the piece I think that probably scares people the most is like, well, what if somebody comes in and I'm not compliant or I don't have the right signage, or somebody puts in a debit card and runs it as credit? Like, how do I make sure that I have a machine, a software, a system that takes care of that for me, and ensures, some type of, well, at least we'll say making an assumption that we're in the right there, especially if I've implemented surcharging. So it's good to know that the software, the pieces that have been put in place get you into the best position there. And just before we let you go, because I know you're a really busy guy, if I'm a shop owner today, I mean, you guys work with thousands upon thousands of auto repair shops. If I have not yet implemented surcharging, what's the first, let's just call it, two steps that I can take to really get a sense of how it would be implemented within my business, right? Whether it's my software or a process. Certainly, we would tell people reach out to your payment processor, especially with 360 payments. But are there any specific steps that you're directing shop owners to take right now to try and get more information and see how surcharging fits in with their business?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head with that. Is reach out to us and get a quote and really get a full understanding of how it works, because it's not no fees at all. There are still fees. You can't surcharge on debit cards, so there's still a fee for on the debit card thing. So making sure that they understand exactly the whole process and what truly comes with it. And that's what our team does, is they kind of break down everything on the pricing, on how the integration works, what terminals to do or to use. So that is kind of the first step, is reach out to our team. And then, do your research, see if it's the right thing for your business. There's a lot of different opinions on surcharging out there and different ways to cover those costs and things like that in your business. But if you come down and make that business decision that you want to do it, there's a lot of processors still out there that are just kind of in the Wild West, just saying, oh yeah, here, we can do it, just add this fee in, and it may not be compliant. So there's still, I still see restaurants out there that are charging 3.5%, like I said, and they're taking a chance. There's fines that could come to them just because they may not know. So get yourself educated, understand what the whole process is, and then talk to a processor that you trust, that knows the industry.
Those are great points. And, it's a complete coincidence that we're talking, relatively early in the year here, as conference events and trade show season is starting to ramp up, at least in the lead up to summer. Will 360 be at any conferences in the next, several weeks to several months where people can stop by? Maybe they're already planning to attend one of these events and chat with you directly.
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few going on. I think the next one coming up next week is the ATI Super Conference. So we'll be there with all of the ATI crew, and then we have quite a few different events that we're all over the country for. It seems like there's always something going on, but that's the next one that we'll be at.
That's great. Yeah. And I think that people appreciate, at least if they're traveling, like the ability to talk face to face with somebody. I know your team has stellar service and has been recognized as such, but sometimes it's nice to get out and about and also see, not only what's going on at 360 Payments, but literally walk across the aisle and see what's going on with the shop management systems that you integrate with too. So that's probably a
Yep.
big win for people that plan to venture out to ATI, to Vision, some of these events that are going on. So perfect. We appreciate your time, Jesse, as always. If you have any questions, you can visit 360payments.com. You can reach out to Jesse directly. But surcharging continues to be a growing topic, and we got to make sure that you have all the information to be in compliance. So definitely make sure to reach out if you have any questions. Jesse, appreciate your time today.
Yeah, appreciate the time as well, Kevin. Have a great one.